The Killer V's Formula V took the green in 2007, 3 wide into turn 1, and Brad Stout went to the point. On the next lap, Michael Verisons dove past Stout for his turn up front. In the battle for second, it's the red 72 of Steve Oseth, the 2006 winner on the outside of Stout, and he took over second. Then Bob NEUMEISTER muscled by to the inside to take third from Stout. On the final lap, Oseth made his move on the leader. After leading 16 laps, Verisons tried to stay alongside, but Oseth took the lead into turn 1. At the line, it was Steve Oseth with his 3rd national championship in Formula V. The only lap he led was the most important one. Every year at the SCCA National Championship Runoffs, Formula V is one of those must-see races, and usually it comes down to a drafting duel. Michael Verisons has finished second the last 2 years in a row. Last year he had the pole and led 15 laps before falling to second at the end. This year he wants the top step of the podium. But to get there, he's going to have to get past this man, Brad Stout, who has 4 national championships to his credit. The last 2 seasons have not been good to him here at the Runoffs, but he's changed tires and he's ready to go back to the front. Steven Dreisel looking for a good finish as well. He ran his highest second last year until a spin dropped him back to 12th, but he too will fight for the gold in the end. For more on Formula V, let's get to Dorsey Schrader.
It's almost impossible to predict the winner of a Formula V race, but one thing you can predict is who will be in that front pack. Now, Bob NEUMEISTER's no stranger there. He has won 4 times already this year on the way to the runoffs. Jeff LOUGHEAD has won 5 times. He's run 5 different races, 3 seconds, and a pair of wins there. Now, Stephen Davis, he's always in the front pack, too. He built a brand new car this year, brought it here to the runoffs along with Old Reliable, and decided that the Old Reliable car is the one he likes best. He's been running that car since 1989. Watch for these guys to duke it out at the front of the pack today.
Since 1964, drivers from around the country have done battle on some of the most famous road courses in North America, all in an effort to not only win their SCCA division, but also to earn a trip to the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. And you do have to earn your way here. For the 38 drivers in Formula V that have earned the trip this year, the battle is about to begin at Heartland Park, Topeka. Formula V has been a runoffs class since the beginning, and today we will see what makes this class one of the favorites of runoff spectators and competitors alike. Hello everyone, I'm Brian Till along with Dorsey Schrader, Mike Johnson, and Chris Neville. We'll call the action for you today, and there should be plenty of action. We talk about a drafting class, Dorsey, at Heartland Park. How can these guys do it?
Well, Brian, 2 primary areas where you can really draft. The long straightaway here down the front, and again, coming out of turn 7 down through turn 8. Best passing area right here in the tight section toward the end where braking is an option.
And we say that Formula V is one of the favorite classes out here of competitors and spectators alike. It's a neat little class, it's reasonably affordable to run, and it is a formula car class.
Well, this was based off the old Volkswagen Beetle, and I'm talking about years ago, 1200cc 4-cylinder engine with the front axle out of a Volkswagen Bug. That's exactly what these are comprised of. The engine in the back, that front axle out of Volkswagen in the front, so they're very, very much a spec car class.
Let's get to the stories on pit lane. We'll start first with Mike Johnson.
Well, you can never forget about Roger Seelenballer. He's a 2-time Formula V national champion. Now, he's starting in 18th position today, but he did have 4 wins this year on the way to the divisional championship. Now, one thing about him, he was in the top 10 in qualifying on the very first day, but on the 3rd day, that was the quickest, and unfortunately, he was involved in a first-lap accident, and while everybody went quicker, he had to stay and only move up 1 little spot and then on the grid. So, over to Chris.
Lisa Noble, wife of 5-time national champ Bill Noble, makes her 17th start at the national championship. Now, most years, Lisa changes her number to the finishing position of her best finish at the runoffs. This year, she's number 7th after her finish from last year, but she is also starting 7th. Think Lisa's feeling a little bit lucky today?
Maybe the stars are aligned here, Dorsey, and I know racers certainly believe in luck. I know you did, so do I. And right now, with this field about to roll off, it may take a little luck to come home with the crown. We've got national champions, divisional champions in the field. Formula V from the runoffs will be spectacular. Stick around. the 45th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs and the 45th running for the National Championship in Formula V. And it should be a good one today. 38 competitors taking times here in Heartland Park, Topeka, and Dorsey, 38 Formula Vs. It's going to be an exciting race, that is for sure. And we've got a lot of talent in this field.
Well, there's so much importance on drafting here because these cars, very limited horsepower with 1200 cc's. So you'll see the guys that have been in this the longest will all work together. Brad Stout, Michael Beresons, Bob NEUMEISTER, LOUGHEAD. You know, all these guys have been running this class for many years, and they know how to get the job done. 9
divisional champions, 1 champion from every division. They all showed up here to run for the gold. 4 former national champions. And speaking of 4, Brad Stout on the pole has 4 national championships in this class himself. Look through the top 10. 7 of the top 10 from last year are back this year and are filling the top 10 in qualifying. You look through the second 10 in qualifying and you'll notice Roger Siebenaller down there in 18th position. He too is a former national champion. He's won it twice, back in 1999 and in 2000. Back-to-back wins for Siebenaller. So we heard about his problems earlier on. We'll see if he can move forward. Another look at some more of the competitors here, back through 21st through 30th, and a lot of talent back there as well. And then we'll have one more page of competitors here. Look for your favorite driver and cheer them on. It is going to be a good one for sure. Stories all up and down pit road today, and we have plenty of them. For more, we'll head straight down to Mike Johnson.
Well, winning a Triple Crown is a huge achievement in itself, but how about doing it with your own chassis? Brian McCarthy, starting in 8th place today, is driving a car that he builds on his own. Now, as Dorsey explained earlier, everybody has to use the same VW suspension, engine, gearbox, and driveline, but his advantage is he's built a really slippery body. It was a rocket ship at Road America, and he expects that car to be just as quick here on the long straights at Heartland Park. Chris?
Well, Dorsey, you were talking about all these cars having that VW engine within just about a horsepower of 2 of one another. Now, the one option a driver has is tire choice. They either choose a Hoosier or a Goodyear tire. But you look at the field, 32 of these 38 cars on Hoosiers and only 1 car in the top 10 on Goodyears. You talk to the Hoosier drivers, they say it's just a little bit better tire at Topeka. Topeka is an abrasive racetrack, and the Goodyear tire just gives up a little bit too soon in the race.
You'll see these cars puffing smoke like you do right there on the 65. That's normal. That's the way they're set up. They're limited horsepower, so they really set the tolerances within the engine up very loose.
Let them run loose. Talk about tire manufacturers. What about chassis manufacturers? They talked about Brian McCarthy, but there are at least a dozen different chassis manufacturers represented in this field. And you look at the cars stream through, you can tell they are very small, without a lot of horsepower. Aerodynamics is key. It's one of the reasons these cars draft so well, and they are about to get drafting here at Heartland Park as they come onto the front straightaway. Brad Stout leads the field down. They're already spreading their wings, and the green flag flies. We're racing, and Stout did not get a good start.
And one of the guys, the drivers with his hand up back there, realizes that he might have jumped to start. Oh, look at this, Stephen Davis on the inside through the grass. Wow. Lucky he didn't collect somebody there.
Once again, open wheel cars, if they get together, you can get airborne, but it was Jeff LOUGHEAD, I believe, with the tremendous start, jumping to the front from his 4th place qualifying position. Brad Stout dropped back just a little bit.
Well, some movement happened before the green, I can tell you that. We'll go back and look at the start, but there's cars that are moving out of line, and the green was not out. I know that for a fact.
I have to see what the officials have to say about that. You look back down the front straightaway. There's the field. Nice and orderly. Brad Stout on the left side of your picture, right side of the track in that purple car. And you see LOUGHEAD with a jump early on. Dreisler as well in the 04.
Stephen Davis back here in the 80. Watch him. He's the car that went through the grass up here in turn 1. Anyway, well, that's for the officials to call, but that was not the cleanest start I've ever seen. And now, Stout back to 3rd on lap 1.
Brad Stout, though, on those Hoosier tires, a Goodyear driver for many, many years. It was a difficult decision for him to change, but he said, they are so good, I couldn't do it any longer. I had to make the change, and he was on the pole by 0.4 of a second. And 0.4 of a second in Formula V is an eternity. The 05 with a problem.
Brian McCarthy, and I think he is the guy that was going for the Triple Crown. He is, with problems on the start there, and now he's way off the pack and won't have any drafting partner, so he's done.
Wonder if he missed a gear or lost a gear or something in that car. You see the lead that Jeff Lawhead has right now at the 08, it running in second. That's Lawhead, I'm sorry.
Now watch Brad Stout.
It's Barrison's with the lead, Dorsey.
Yeah, Barrison's has got the lead. Now I was going to say Brad Stout will probably just stay right behind because they need to catch back up to Barrison's, but he didn't. He goes in and slingshots by.
You wonder if Lawhead just somewhat let him go. These cars draft so well, it's almost like watching a stock car as Bob NEUMEISTER moved past Steven Dreisler there. The blue of NEUMEISTER, the yellow of Dreisler at the right side of your picture. Dreisler looking back on NEUMEISTER there. Nothing doing this time around through turn 3. Dreisler with a good run going last year, in as high as second, but had a problem in a spin and finished 12th, so wants to make amends for last year. It was Lawhead with the great jump at the start, but but Barrison's a good run to get up there, and now looks like Brian McCarthy has made it back to pit road.
And he was the only driver eligible for the Triple Crown. He'd already won the June sprints and his division, but his day is over at the end of lap 2, or lap 1, really.
Field actually somewhat strung out for a Formula V race. You normally see him a little bit closer than this. However, these cars, we talk about the drafting, Dorsey, it seems like you can pick up a draft in one of these cars several car lengths back, 4, 5, 6 car lengths.
Yeah, you can, because they're so underpowered, you know, and they're so equal to one another that they really can pick up a lot of draft to help easy. I talked about the suspension being stock Volkswagen on the front end there. So are the tires and wheel sizes. That's why these tires are so skinny, regardless who builds them, Hoosier or Goodyear. They still have to be the same width of the old Volkswagen Beetle tire, and of course the wheels are the same that they had back in the 1950s.
Barrison's out in front in his Vortec chassis, being followed by Jeff Lawhead, who runs second in a Vortec. Brad Stout in a Vortec chassis as well. Then NEUMEISTER and Dreisler. NEUMEISTER in a Vortec and Dreisler in a Vortec. So the Vortec chassis might be one of the more popular ones, but Barrison's showing how it can be done right now in that Speed Sport chassis.
I think Stout is starting to run him down, though. I think lap time that time were identical, 148.3s. So that's pretty close for you.
Barrison's has been second at the runoffs the last 2 years in a row. He had the pole in 07. Look at this battle. Bob NEUMEISTER to the inside of the 08 of Jeff Lawhead. Lawhead going the wrong direction after that great start, and Dreisler all over the back of Lawhead now as well. He wants to work his way through. It seemed like perhaps that NEUMEISTER and Dreisler had a little good drafting train going and were moving to the front, and they're starting to eat up the guys in front of them. Lawhead about to fall victim to Dreisler.
Well, I'll tell you, all of that battling with each other is letting Brad Stout get away. You see Brad now in second place, trying to be really smooth now to try to run down Michael Barrison's. And that's the thing you got to do in these cars. No sliding around. You got to keep them nailed to the track.
But how much help is it going to be required to get Brad Stout there? Can you chase him down on your own, or do you need a little drafting help? Well,
it would help to have drafting help, but Stout was the pole sitter by 0.4 of a second, which is huge in this field of cars.
And you talk about being smooth, that is absolutely key in these cars. But we already talked about the 05 of Brian McCarthy, the problems that he had. He's on pit road. We'll head down there with Mike.
Well, Brian, no Triple Crown this weekend, but what happened to the car?
Well, Mike, we've got brand new motors, but they're reusing 50-year-old parts. And we're taking a 3,800 RPM motor and shifting them up well above 6,500. And got to the top of third gear. The car was pulling real strong. All of a sudden, bang, I heard a rocker arm brake.
Well, we know you got a very fast car, especially at Road America, and with the runoffs going to be there next year, you should be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, at least it was a rocker arm. That's a relatively inexpensive piece that can easily be replaced versus a crankshaft or rod that comes busting through.
Well, he makes a very valid point. You talk about what these parts, these cars are made out of, both suspension-wise and power plant-wise. There are not a lot of parts around for him anymore, but you watch the battle here. Dreisler in the yellow, trying to get underneath Lawhead. He was right there on him in turn 3 the last time around. This time he makes it stick, and he and the blue in front of him, Bob NEUMEISTER, will try to work their way to the front. Formula V underway at the SCCA National Championships. The 45th time this field has done battle for the gold. We'll be back to see who captures it in 2008.
Jeff Wilt has been competing in vintage racing for the past 10 years, but this is the first time he brings his craft to the runoffs. And Jeff, in motorsports, we all know the crew is the most important thing. Tell us about yours.
Yeah, they are. They certainly are. We as a family, do this all the time. My wife has done it with me solo. Both my kids are out of school this week, learning a little bit about economics and racing, etc. They've all crewed for me solo in the past. We're just glad to be up here at our first runoffs. It's been fun.
Now, Jeff, you pay them a little bit more than just taking out the garbage?
Absolutely. Both of them have extorted racing competition schools in the coming year as payback, and they're both looking forward to me crewing for them.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you, Mike.
Jeffrey Wilt's crew working hard there. Now, unfortunately, they're going to be working hard again because Jeffrey Wilt is on pit lane. Some type of a problem there, and once the bodywork comes off, well, first of all, if you come to pit lane at the runoffs, your day is pretty much done, but when the bodywork comes off, there's a big issue. Looks like you might have had some contact there. Or is that just how thin the bodywork is?
I think that's just how thin the bodywork is himself. He's trying to get the body up off the top of the car for him, but they towed up here from Dallas, Texas, so hopefully they've had some fun during their week here.
The battle for third is continuing to rage. Bob NEUMEISTER over Steven Dreisler in the yellow, but the battle for the lead is picked up as well as they flashed by at the bottom of the screen. Dreisler trying to get past NEUMEISTER. He wants to improve, but look at this battle for the lead. Brad Stout, inch by inch, has closed up, and now he definitely will be close enough for the draft.
Yeah, switching over to Hoosiers tires is something that all of the Formula B competitors wish Brad hadn't have done, because now he's on equal par with what they have. And this guy, like you say, he's already won 4 national championships already. He knows how to do this. He was on the pole by 4/10, like I said, a huge amount. Now goes for the lead.
The question is, as they run side by side through there, how much of that do you want to do at this point of the race? 4 laps in the books, working lap 5 right now. He must feel like he can get past him and pull away, because if you get in front of him and he's able to use your draft and he stays there until the last lap, you may give that position away at exactly the wrong time.
I think it's so early in the race on lap 4 that Brad's going to feel this out. Go ahead and go up there and see how easy it is for Michael to get by him. Here's the slingshot and the pop out. He'll take the lead going into turn 1.
Stout, one of the more experienced drivers in the field, side by side down the front straightaway. He'll have the preferred line, and I would imagine that Verisons will just let him go, drop in behind him, and try to lose as little time as they possibly can.
Right, that's exactly what they're going to do now, Brian. The two of these drivers are going to play cat and mouse with each other and see how easy is it for me to be passed by him when he's behind me, how easy is it for him to do the same if I'm on the other end of the deal.
Stout now has gotten past Verisons and really pulled out a fair amount just in those first couple of corners. The battle behind them continues to rage. We'll have to see if Verisons can use the draft to hold on, but Dreisler now once again all over the back of Bob NEUMEISTER. Dreisler's best finish here was 6th in 2006. I said he ran as high as 2nd last year before problems put him back, but he would like nothing more than to finish on the podium. Great run going on, and at the back of that train is Jeff Lawhead. Chris?
Well, I talked to Jeff Lawhead at the beginning of the race. He said there's going to be 2 keys to this race. Maintain, survive that first 2-lap period when everybody's going a little bit nuts, and then after that, stay with the pack. If you lose the lead pack, you're probably not going to be in a position to win this thing a little bit later on. Now, Dorsey, you were talking about spare parts for these cars. They're old they're an old design from the old VW Bug, but we have to remember that the VW Bug was manufactured in Mexico a lot longer than it was the U.S., and spare parts are still being manufactured in Mexico. So an old design, but some new parts are still coming across the border. Now, one question for you, Dorsey. It's blowing a gale out here. Very strong headwind going down the front straightaway. Tailwind going across the backside of the racetrack. What's that doing to gearing?
Well, I think they're okay on gearing probably the way they are, but you're right, Chris. They'll probably lose 5 miles an hour up this front straight, and it makes it so important to draft. You see Michael Verisons right now drafting by Brad Stout. Brad will let him go just like the lap before and tuck back in, get that draft. On the back straightaway, it won't be quite as important. With a tailwind, you'll be able to get up to speed a lot better. The thing you got to remember is Brad Stout ran down Verisons from about 20 car lengths back or so. So I'd be real worried about that. That's Stephen Davis in the lead in the Racer's Wedge, the 80. That's one of the older design cars. And like in my piece I was telling you, he built a brand new race car this year, Brian. He ran it a few times, said, you know what, it's just not right yet. And so he brought both cars here, and that car debuted in 1989.
And this is a great battle going on here. You see the 17, the red car at the front of the train right there. Rick Shields running 8th. Donald Sanchez right there with him, trying to hold on, and a great battle for 8th there on the racetrack.
And all those guys work in a draft pretty well together. You see, you want to go down the straightaway nose to tail, do your passing, getting into the corner, and then get back nose to tail right away. And you see a visor tear off right there. I thought he was putting his hand up to do some hand signaling. You'll see that a lot in draft with these open wheel cars. Everybody's signaling to one another.
Back to the battle for third. Steven Dreisler has now taken it over from Bob NEUMEISTER. Formula V at the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. It is a great one. Stick around to the end. The SCCA National Championship Runoffs from Heartland Park, Topeka. And the battle in Formula V is a good one. For 45 years, they've run the SCCA National Championships. And for 45 years, Formula V has been one of the main classes. It remains that way. And the battles for 45 years have stayed intense. Formula V, one of the favorites of the spectators and the competitors alike, running right now at Heartland Park, Topeka. Michael Veressens continues to hold down the lead. Brad Stout has worked his way back by. This lead changes so quickly. The drafting Dorsey really plays a big part in it.
Well, like I say, this is cat and mouse. The two of them have broken away from the rest of the pack, so they only need to contend with one another, and they're going to try to right now figure out where's one car weaker than the other? Where can I make my pass attempt? And what lap do I do it on? Do I wait to the last lap, or do I do it on lap 3? I mean, they got to be thinking about all that right now.
Well, I think that's exactly what's going on. This is how Brad Stout took the lead back this time.
See how he doesn't jerk the wheel? He just blends out from behind, runs alongside, the draft working, slingshot in place, and they'll tuck right back over in front. Now we got a good, clean slipstream once again.
And nowhere is it more true. We always talk in driver schools about when you turn the wheel, you scrub speed. But when you have such little horsepower and such small tires, any movement of the wheel is really a detriment. So like you said, smoothness is the key. I really think that you can take a Formula V driver and put them in just about anything and have them run well, because they spend so much time working on momentum and being smooth.
And you know, when you drive one of these cars, it has so little grip from those little tires that your hands can feel how easy it is to just abuse the tire, how easy it is to lose grip with the racetrack.
Now this is interesting. Right now, Brad Stout, somewhat with a right-hand side line down the front straightaway, almost a blocking line. And I'm wondering why he would do that right now. Is he testing? Is every lap, is he sitting there going, all right, what can I do? I'm going to put another note in my notebook so I'll know how to deal with this at the end so I can take the win. Speaking of taking the win, these three guys are not out of it either. They've had this battle going since the drop of the green. Steve Dreisler in the yellow car there in front, the 04, has taken over third. Right behind him, Bob NEUMEISTER. But you talk about killer V's, here's a swarm of them right here.
Yeah, that's for sure. Look at these, now they're going to get 3 wide there. Stephen Davis is in that 80 car, the green car. That is one of the older chassis out there, but you know what? He built a new car. He likes this old car better. It just feels better to him.
Charles Hearn there in the bright yellow number 37 leading that pack. Looking down the timing and scoring, Hearn running 7th right now. Rick Shields a part of that battle as well, as is Stephen Davis. You talked about Davis there in the 80. And this is a train. This is what you're used to seeing in Formula V competition.
Yeah, normally you'd have a train like that with 20 cars in it or 25 cars in it.
Rick Shields third in line. It was Charles Hearn in the yellow 37 there, then the 80 of Stephen Davis, then the 17 of Rick Shields. That is the first 3 in that gaggle of cars as they slip through, and then you saw the 27 as well.
And I think experience plays a lot in these cars. The guys have done it for a long, like Stephen Davis there, Brad Stout, Michael Veressens, NEUMEISTER. The guys that have done this for so many years, they just know, they can feel how much, how much they can get away with. And for new guys coming in, it makes it difficult for them to come right up to par with these guys because they got so darn much experience.
Yeah, Stephen Davis in the 80 has 2 national championships to his credit back in 1987 and 92 in Formula V, so he knows how to make one go. But right now, the battle has all been about Michael Veressens and Brad Stout. Veressens in the red.
And got by Brad Stout again. Now with Brad Stout, you were asking before about varying his line. I think what you want to do is try to be unpredictable. You don't want to just set yourself into a rhythm, because once you get in that rhythm, the other guy starts picking away at where he's going to get you. If you start moving around on the racetrack, he's then got to think, where's he going this time?
He never knows where you're going to be. He can't plan his move because you're unpredictable. Looks like the 80 of Stephen Davis has cleared the 37 of Charles Hearn and is pulled away ever so slightly. So Davis now up to 7th. Hearn has slipped back, or Davis, I should say, up to 6th. Hearn has slipped back to 7th.
I was talking about Stephen Davis about his car and how it's got the more like sports car nose, a wider front end. And I said, well, that's probably a deterrent. He goes, not really. He goes, because the back of the car where the engine is, it's got to be that wide anyway.
Good point. Formula V battles from Heartland Park, Topeka continues. The 45th running for the Formula V Championship continues. We said the battle for the Formula V National Championship would be a good one, and it has been from the drop of the green. It was Jeff Lawhead to the right of the screen who got the big jump at the start in his 08 and took the lead, but then Michael Verisons stretched it out. Brad Stout wanted to move to the front, and he does past Lawhead. Now his sights set squarely on Verisons. Several laps later, the draft. Thank you very much. I'll take that.
And it'll be like that every lap from now on, as you can see once again. Every time they get to this long front straightaway, they're going to have a run at one another. Get the slingshot, the slipstream, and then tuck back in.
Literally every lap it has changed at the line. They use the draft, and out they go. The question is, where is that line placed, and where will it be when it comes time at the end of the race? But you don't think it's close? Take a look at this. These guys run nose to tail. In fact, if you look closely at the back of these little Formula V cars, you'll see little tiny bumpers, and you'll see marks all over the nose of these chassis by the end of the race, because they bump draft a lot, don't they, Dorsey?
Yeah, they got a little push bar right in the center, right above the gearbox, because the shifter on these Volkswagen gearboxes is at the very back. So without that little bumper, you could go up there and knock somebody out of gear.
Tell you what, these guys having a great battle up front. Brad Stout in the purple and aqua-colored Vortec chassis right there. Michael Verisons behind him in the red Speed Sport. They're having a good run, but I look behind them, and I see a bright yellow car beginning to close in, and that is Dreisler, I believe, who's beginning to work his way front. But Brad Stout continues to lead, Mike.
I just talked to the crew of Brad Stout, and he says right now it's really just playing around, trying to figure out where the best place to be is on that next to last lap and even the last lap. The start-finish line's about halfway down that front straightaway, so you need to be able to pop out just at the right point to make the pass by the front straight, because it's pretty easy to get it down into turn one, but you know, right now it's going back and forth saying, can I wait till the last turn, or am I going to have to do it on the next to last lap, make that late, and then hold it out to the finish? Guys?
Well, and that's what I was asking, Dorsey. It's really where the start-finish line is. These cars draft really well, and we know they can go back and forth, but can you get it done before the start-finish line?
And I think that's what you're seeing right now, is that both these guys are trying different lines, different approaches to the problem of who can get by and get up to that start-finish line, and where do you want to position yourself for the run.
And this is still just a gaggle of cars, the battle between 7th and I believe all the way down to 11th or 12th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, I should say. You see the 72 flash through of Roger Siebenaller. Remember, he had that qualifying effort that did not go the way that he wanted to, and he is trying to move his way back up. Siebenaller with 2 national championships, as we had alluded to earlier, and so Stephen Davis there in the 80 in front. He too has 2 national championships in class.
You see these guys getting the most out of their cars. They're not all crossed up. You don't see a lot of, opposite lock coming off the corners, but yet they are sliding. The important thing is to hit your apexes like that and drive out to the outside of the racetrack. Use every square inch of road that you can get, and use it, just don't scrub speed.
You also see the 17 and the 03, Rick Shields and Patrick Huey at the back of that pack. Great battles all around in Formula V. That is why it has been one of the favorite classes for 45 years in SCCA national competition, and it remains that way to this day. The SCCA National Championship Runoffs, Formula V, and they are still going at it. Passes for the lead almost every lap. Brad Stout and Michael Verisons, tooth and nail, cat and mouse. It's all well and good to have the lead now, but the last lap is the only one that really matters, and we have 6 more laps to go. Brad Stout continuing to hold down the point over Michael Verisons. 12 laps in the books, working 13, Dorsey. And not only are these guys good behind the wheel, they've got to be very smart, because they need to remember all of these little notes that they filed away on the competitor that they're trying to do battle with.
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking a game plan all the way to the last lap usually. I think it's been structured so far. These guys just driving off laps, but when it gets to 3 to go, I think what you'll see is it's going to get a little unsettled up there in the front.
5.3 second lead over Dreisler. This is another good battle, a little bit further back in the pack. And as I said, these guys get together in a group. It doesn't really matter where you're running. They're going to have a good fight, and they're having a good fight right now. You saw the number 7. That's Lisa Noble leading that pack right there in the blue car there in front. Noble, she's running 19th right now. And this is a good battle. It's 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. But hey, they're having fun.
And this group got shuffled out of the draft early on, and that's why they're back here to having a good run amongst themselves. But they've been alienated by the front group. Of course, Lisa Noble last year finished 7th. That's why the car number. She'd love to be better than that this year, but right now, sitting in 19th, it's a long way to go. And she doesn't got a lot of help around her.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work this year. The 49 right there with her in the red just behind is Randy Smith. Smith holding down the 20th position about halfway through the pack, so you can't be too upset with finishing in the halfway mark out of 38 cars. And Michael Verson says, I can pass you around the outside. Brad Stout will make a note of that and file that away.
But of course that was well past start-finish line, so it wouldn't work on the last lap. It might work on the second to last lap, but that's what they're thinking about right now, trying to figure out the equation, where to do it and when to pull the trigger.
These two guys battle up front. Steve Dreisler has broken away, and he runs alone in 3rd, but the battle for 6th and 7th still heating up.
Wow,
Stephen Davis in 7th right now.
And that's Siebenaler, who we talked about, you know, in the back. He had to start in 18th, though. He's moved all the way up to 8th, following Stephen Davis.
Stephen Davis flashes by.
So Siebenaler, the man on the move, he's come a long way. Had to go through all those packs of cars that we saw running together before.
Actually, Stephen Davis has cleared the 37 there, so now Davis is in 6th. And then right behind him, Hearn in the 37th is 7th, but the white car there on your right side of your screen is Siebenaler, and like you said, Dorsey, that is a long way to go. Remember, he was tied up in that gaggle of cars just a few laps ago, but he is broken free and now really beginning to close on that battle for 6th.
Yeah, he had to work his way through all of those groups of cars that were fighting amongst themselves. Looking at his lap times, Brian, he's running the same speed as Brad Stout, who's leading this race, but he's still got a long way to go to get up there without the help of a yellow flag.
Another battle. This is the battle back for 25th, and I told you it doesn't really matter where you run in Formula V. You're going to get to race somebody. You see the 19 of David Scaler go by, having a good run there with his group of friends that are trying to do battle with him as well. The 47, good stuff. Formula V, the battles are everywhere around this 2.5-mile Heartland Park circuit. Brad Stout, Michael Versons hold down the point, and right now it's anybody's guess who will bring home the gold. Make sure you stick with us and find out.
SCCA racing is all about family. And while most father-sons sit on the couch and watch racing on TV, Nick Morris and his father John are living the dream with their Formula V. Now, how did you guys get started doing this together?
Well, my dad's been racing for years, and when I got old enough, it was my turn to get in the car and start driving.
Now, last year you finished 28th. What have you been able to do to work a little harder this year to be better prepared?
Primarily seat time, and with seat time comes experience, and hopefully all that will lead to a better finish this year.
Well, Nick's had to take some time off college, so his father John's been working on the car while he's at school getting ready for this year's runoffs.
Nick Morris running 31st right now, not having the runoffs that he would want, but at least he's here. 21 years old in a class full of, let's say, much more experienced drivers, Dorsey. The average age of the drivers in Formula V, of 38 drivers, is just over 50. It's 50.63 years of age. And Nick Morris, only 21 years old, so he's got a long time he can spend in this class, well, if you look at it that way.
Some of these guys he's competing against have been driving cars longer than he's been alive.
It's a very good point. Now look at the lead right now that Brad Stout has. There's your leader, Nick Morris, we were just talking about, and Brad Stout coming up on him. And Stout, and a problem.
We got a crash in the back. We'll bring out a caution for sure. And that's going to stack everybody up. It'll really help Siebenaler.
Man, that is going to be tough because we've had this impact. 15 laps in the books, working lap 16. Let's take a look and see if we can see what happens.
This is one of the high-speed section up there in turn 1, turn 2. This car wide's going to hook and spin right across in front. Oh, no, it didn't. Oh, that flip.
Big hit.
10 car upside down and back on its wheels again.
10 car is Eddie Cadena from Houston. And great to see the helmet off And Eddie moving around in that car, he's taking his helmet off, he's taking the wheel off, and that is good to see because that was a frightening, frightening moment for Eddie CADENA from Houston. You also see the 09, I believe it is, that's involved. Steven Saslow.
Like I say, this was one of the high-speed sections. That's turn 1, coming through turn 2, very fast.
And it's Saslow who gets off in the 09, but then you see the last car in line.
Nowhere to go, and he's
CADENA.
in the grass. Can't stop.
And can't see.
And gets tripped up.
And that is the scary moment right there. When that roll cage goes over and contacts the ground first, you hope that you have followed SCCA safety guidelines and made sure that your head is well below that roll bar. They have those rules for a reason, and you just saw why.
You see how much your body stretches in that flip right there. You can see all the viciousness of the head movement. I've been there.
Good to see both drivers out of the car and walking away.
Now, what's surprising is we don't have a full course yellow, which I thought for sure we would. Now there it is. Now, here's the problem we have. We're at lap 16. We got 2 laps to go in this race, and it might end up in the yellow.
16 in the books. Working 17, 18 laps. Dorsey, I think you're right, and it would be a shame to see this race in this way. You see the 97 there leading the field. Nick Morris wishes that he was actually leading, but he is a lap down. Brad Stout continues to lead over Michael Veressens, but the full course caution is out. Disappointing to see, but the most important thing, I'm looking at 2 drivers involved in that incident, standing talking to safety workers. Great to see. Scary moments in the Formula V race from the National Championship runoffs, but good to see the drivers up and away. Make sure you stick around for all the gold when we come back to Heartland Park, Topeka. Not the way Eddie CADENA wanted to see his day in. We'll be back. The Formula V National Championships, the 45th running of the runoffs and the 45th running of the National Championship in Formula V. Brad Stout leading in his Formula V, and another Volkswagen pace car leading the field. And we didn't want to see that. 16 laps in the books, working lap 17. You see the number 10 of Eddie CADENA sitting there, broken, battered. But the good news, Eddie out of the car.
That's the car that went over and flipped. Pretty hard hit up on top of the roll bar, but it held up well.
Scary moments. We saw the 09 get loose, and then CADENA had nowhere to go. Now let's watch very closely here. The second car in line is the number 09.
But watch the last car in the frame, the purple car, because he's going to get off in the grass. Now he can't turn, and I don't think he's wearing a Hans device or head and neck restraint. Watch his head right here when it hits down. You see it bounce off the side of the car. So,
and if he's not, he needs to head straight over
and get
one of the trucks and get one.
Well, there's his helmet, and I don't see any Hans device attached to it. So,
Brad Stout still circulating around behind the pace car. Mike?
Yeah, with Phil Rollhouse. Phil, you're one of Brad's friends, and also you work on a lot of these cars. It looked like for a long time those guys were going back and forth trying to figure out where the spot to be was on the last lap, but now this yellow flag looks like it might be decided.
Yeah, he would rather be second on the last lap so he could pass when he wanted to and take first. But it didn't work that way. He was out in front, so the guy that's running second was there. He is there. He's okay. Good. Has a chance to pass him on the backside of the circuit.
Well, the checker flag just fell, so that gives you guys the first place. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you guys.
Oh, Phil Rollhouse there. Known him for my entire life. He's known me since I was a baby, friend of my mother's, and been with the Stout family of racers, including his uncle, Fred Stout, for this many years. What is that, 38 years?
You saw the hand out the window of the safety car, holding everybody back. The 5 fingers sticking up. That was not for Brad Stout, but it might as well be. Brad Stout now has 5 national championships in Formula V to his credit, and that is truly a remarkable feat. This class is so competitive. To win 1 national championship is quite the feat, but to win 5 is truly remarkable.
And
show
Brian,
you why the full course caution is out.
All of that talking about positioning and where you want to be at the end, nobody could have foreseen this.
This is why we're under full course caution.
And why we end under caution. Big flip here.
Hopefully Eddie CADENA has TiVo'd this race and he will watch that and say, you know, I think an investment in a Hans device is probably a good idea. I didn't see one on him like you said, Dorsey, and that head and neck restraint is absolutely critical. They didn't have them back in the olden days when you and I drove, but you look at technology and where they are now and the safety that it adds, and you just shouldn't be without one.
I know what his neck's going to feel like tomorrow, though, because I didn't have one on when I flipped that IROC car, and it hurts watching that.
Well, your head hurts a lot, but that's another story altogether. Brad Stout, he may have a headache in the morning because there's going to be some celebrating tonight. You see him wave to the corner workers. Once again, you cannot race without corner workers, so thanks to them for making the SCCA National Championships what they are, and thanks to Brad Stout and Michael Verisons for a great race today. We'll be back to talk to our winners when we come back to Heartland Park, Topeka. The battle for gold for the 45th running for the Formula V National Championship has been decided, and Brad Stout takes his 5th national championship. It was close. Michael Verison gave him a run for his money, but Stout comes home with the victory, and he is celebrating in pit lane with Mike.
Well, Brad, now you're tied for 5th with Bill Noble for most Formula V national championships. But we were all watching. It looked like you guys working back and forth, you and Michael. If it would have stayed green, where did you need to be on that next to last lap?
It depends on where Mike was. If he was behind me more than 10 car lengths, I needed to be in front. You know, it was a big gamble. The whole race long, I was like, where do I need to be? Where do I need to be? Where do I need to be? And, you know, I really wasn't sure. And then we saw traffic coming. I thought my Noble-powered Vortec with Penske shocks will get the job done through the traffic, and we can win a race on these Hoosier tires.
So what did you think when you saw, obviously, the yellow flag, and you knew at that point that probably the race was over and you were going to win?
Well, I saw the yellow flag, and I knew we had 2 laps left, and I'm thinking, I'm waving the pace car. Come on, let's go, speed up, eat up this clock, eat up the clock. Came back around, he stayed on the track. I knew I had it at that point. You know, you hate to win the race under a yellow flag. You want to put on a good show. Mike Verison's lost a big race because of the yellow this year, and he just got locked out again. But, hey, you win some that way, you lose some that way. Today we won it. We're going to take it. It's good to be back in winner's circle after being gone for a few years.
Well, it's good to have you back, guys.
Good to see Brad Stout back there as well. He's a good guy, just a great race car driver, friendly guy, great competitor. And you watch the battle that he had with Michael Verisons. Neither one of them did anything that weren't good at all. Very professional driving. It was impressive to watch, a pleasure to watch. Michael Verisons comes home second. What a great run for Steven Dreisler. That is his best runoff finish. He ran as high as second last year, as we've said earlier, but had some problems. But he comes home with a good finish. There were great battles all around the racetrack. We saw some of these battles here. Patrick Huey involved in a good one. Jim Kearney, good to see him back up there with his invisible glass on the side of the car. And you look back through 21st through 30, and then back to the end of the field. Bad luck for Brian McCarthy. He was going for that Triple Crown, and it was not to be. Speaking of not to be, we'll check down with Chris.
Well, Michael Verisons finished second for the 3rd year in a row. Mike, you've got to start feeling like you're going to be a bridesmaid forever.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of people that'd be happy to be second, so I guess I can't really complain. You know, it was a great race between Brad and I was kind of a little sad to see that full course yellow come out there at the end. You know, for a good part of that race, I was kind of just staying behind him and using the draft to keep pace with him and kind of backing off a little bit in the corners to save the tires for the end. And, you know, I was hoping on the last lap to make a run at it and go, but, you know, the full course yellow kind of changed that plan, so.
You looked like you were sizing Brad up the entire race, waiting for that last lap. If we stayed green, could you have had him?
It would have been close. I mean, he's a hard guy to get by, so, you know, it's one of those things where it would have been close, and, you know, I think it would have been a good race for the last lap anyway.
Well done with another second. Mike?
Dreisler got his very first podium today at the runoffs, and tell us about that pass for the 3rd.
Well, there was about 10 or 11 of them. We had a heck of a battle, Newbie and I, and it just went back and forth. That's just good typical V racing. We were trying to work together a little bit to try and catch those two, and eventually in our effort to dump each other, you know, he finally spun, so that set me alone at 3rd.
Well, anyway you can get it. Great job, guys.
You know, Dorsey, I'm always impressed, not only with the battles that these guys have, and Brad Stout takes another victory lap, but the sportsmanship. These guys they're good competitors, but they're good friends.
Yeah, they're great friends. It's that community, all those guys. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it's hard to predict who the winner will be, but you can predict who the front guys will be because they've been there forever, and they're all buddies and they know how to get the job done.
Well, I think it takes a lot of experience, as you alluded to. I mean, this is a thinking man's game.
Definitely it is, no question about it. And, the guys with years and years of experience, it shows.
It's Formula V, it's chess on wheels, and you saw a classic battle here in the 45th running of the SCCA National Championships, the 45th running for a national champion in this class, and what a great one it was. A little history making. Brad Stout with another national championship. That's 5 for him. Michael Versens has to feel like eventually I'll get my championship. Stay tuned for next year, and we'll see if he does it. For Chris Neville, Mike Johnson, Dorsey Schrader, I'm Brian Till. Catch all the Runoffs action right here on Speed.